All right.
Exactly. All right.
Now let's talk about one other dimension to this because you know that synchronicity is a very big thing. So when two things happen that seem to be coincidental or seem to be just whatever, accidental, coincidental, then we all know that that never occurs. It's never that way. That whenever two things are come together in the same time, they're somehow related, they're meaningfully related. So yesterday, I had a conversation with Cynthia, which brought us to the topic of active listening. And I asked just a few minutes ago, I asked Rossi, and she said she's, of course, familiar with active listening. So we'll see if that's really true for her. We'll find out. We'll find out shortly. But the reason why I brought this up is because I'm using the principle of synchronicity and I'm saying to myself, oh, well, this came up yesterday with Cynthia, so there must be a purpose of why active listening has emerged. And then when I start thinking about active listening, which of course, years and years and years and years ago, I did quite a lot of that. And there were a lot of people, in California here that were masters of that. And it all sort of began in the 1970s when there were a lot of people that got into this whole sphere of active listening. Then it sort of fell into the background where nobody talks about it much and nobody does it much, at least not in a public way. And yet it's the most simplest and the most extraordinary and the most profound communication tool that we have in our arsenal, yet it's just never used. So I'm going to take the opportunity here to share a little bit about active listening with both of you. And then I want to use it in a practical way with Jules. So I'm going to teach you how to use active listening with Jules, and you're going to make some very big discoveries with it. Okay.
Okay.
And not only you, of course, she will also
All
make
right.
discoveries, but you're going to make big discoveries. And you're going to go, the light bulb will go off in your brain, and you'll say, oh, new tool, active listening. And now I can do it with my dad. I can do it with my mom, and I can do it with my cousin. I can do it with anybody I want to, anytime I want to. And once again, it's a Scorpio thing. So it fits right in with everything else. Okay. So active listening is a skill and an art, somewhat of an art, mostly a skill and partially an art in being able to really listen to what somebody is really saying, not just the words, but the feeling behind the words, the actual intent would be the word intent behind the words with the words, be able to hear it, feel it, and get it with a capital G, and then be able to reply back or to feed back that what you got from them in a sentiment which in a particular energetic way so that there is no there's complete love and acceptance surrounding them and surrounding what they said. There's no hint or even at a subtle level of judgment or criticism or opinions or thoughts or explanations or and none of that. There's no intellect, there's no conceptual thing, there's just nothing but getting them and feeding it back to them. And this is a very extraordinary skill with incredible impact because what is it that most human beings really want in life? To be heard, but not just heard in the words they say, but received, fully received, gotten. Well, we use the word gotten, received and gotten. And when you say to somebody back what you received from them, and they get that you heard them, you really heard them and received them fully with no explanations and no extras and no whatever, okay, extras, they relax inside and they feel a sense of peace and they feel a sense of really like genuine caring,
Yeah.
genuinely felt honored, respected, and cared for and nurtured. And it also enhances the relationship, between the two of you. Okay. So sometimes people get caught up in a lot of, intellectual conversations regarding work or details of whatever they're doing. And some people can go in this and that and whatever and get misunderstand each other or
Yeah.
whatever. And then they try to explain it all with all their words back and forth. And sometimes that works, and other times it doesn't. Sometimes because people just not really hurt and they don't really ultimately care at an emotional level. They don't really care about the words or anything. They just want to be heard. And once they
Yeah.
are heard or received fully, then they're very capable and it's very easy to work out whatever the details of the work that needs to be done or fully understood. Okay. So
Mhm.
in the 1970s, and then a little bit, of course, beyond that, this became a very, very widely used and extremely popular methodology with counselors, therapists, social workers, and really anybody who really wanted to have really good communication. And since I went through that whole period and, was already an adult and I was observing the masters of this art, I would see people doing this kind of thing, but they had their art. There was an art to it because there was a skill in really feeling and receiving and conveying that sentiment. So when they did active listening, they weren't only just, repeating the words, they were embodying the feeling and the sentiment so that the receiver, on the other hand, could really feel that they were gotten, that they were received. And they didn't sense any sort of conflict, stress, or whatever going on. Okay. So what I'm gonna have Cynthia, I'm gonna have her cut this segment out so that we have another piece that we can use on this. But now I want to apply apply this to a situation with Jules and give you an example of how you can use this sort of thing in a practical kind of way with her. Okay. And since Jules doesn't really know about this, she's never heard of it before. You don't need to tell her anything. You could just do it with her and then like an experiment and just see what happens, right? So so let's say specifically how this can work. So you ask Jules a little bit about her doubt, like where she's doubtful or shy. She may use the word shy, she may use the word doubtful. It doesn't really matter the word she's using. That doesn't It's not relevant actually, although it may seem like it is, but it isn't. So what you're going to do is listen carefully to what she says, and you're going to do active listening with her, which is to feed back what you heard her say with the feeling that you are getting from it. So you might say something like, "What do you call her, Jules, or do you have another nickname?"
Actually, here in our home, we call her Rain.
Rain, or like
Yeah.
Rain.
Different spelling. It's Rein.
Oh, Rein, Rea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Rain, Rein. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
that's her home nickname.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, okay, very good. So you would say Rain. It's important to use the name that she's,
Comfortable.
loves and that is familiar with and comfortable with. The sense I get from you is that you're uncomfortable, doubtful, or uncomfortable doing A and doing B, doing C, that's whatever difficult for that reason. Is that true? And she says yes. And then can you tell me a little bit more about what part of that, what aspect of that is uncomfortable for you or doubtful? And do you feel that way with many people, we're only with life crafting or only with Howard. So we want to get a sense of it. And then she'll say a little bit more about where she feels this doubt or this shyness, and she'll give you a little bit more information about it. And you're going to do exactly the same. No analyzing, no convincing, no selling, nothing.
Yeah.
Just feeding back what you heard her say and what she feels in that moment exactly the way she feels it. Okay. So you're not fixing her because she's not broken, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then she gets that. And now again, once again, wash her face, wash her face. and notice if the color changes a little bit, or the affect, what we call affect, changes in her face, just from giving her back what, and then you could ask her questions like, well, is this something that you want to stay with this exact way for the rest of your life, or would you like to change it maybe a little bit, like a tiny bit? And you're being funny, but you're also being truthful at the same time, right? So
Yeah.
it's like a teasing element. It's transformational teasing, you could call it if you want to. Uh, I sort of evolved that sort of style over many, many years. Where years ago I would be serious about pretty much everything, but then I got over that. Okay, so then she's gonna respond, but she's also gonna be a little bit, hmm, she's also gonna become probably a little bit curious because, Jane doesn't usually talk to me this way. Why is she talking to me this way? I don't understand this. Why is she asking me these questions that she never asks me? Right. So, and then she might even say something about it. She says, what is this? What is this? Like, why are you asking me this? Whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then you can make up something. You can make up any answer you like. It doesn't matter what you say. You could say whatever you feel like saying in the moment. You could even joke. I mean, you could say it's a new art form that I've designed. I mean, something like crazy, really crazy that will make no sense to her at all. But it's perfect though, because that's what she needs is to just to be
Yeah.
shaken up all the time. Just keep
Mm.
shaking her up, okay, with lots of love. So you give somebody love, and then you shake them and shake them, and you give them more love, and then you shake them, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
like a smoothie, and you put all the ingredients
Yeah.
and you shake it up, so you've got
Uh-huh.
a nice smoothie. And then but then as you notice shifts taking place in her, like she starts changing her affect, her feeling, she starts embodying a different energy or a different feeling or sensation. Well, that's something to feed back to her. That's part of active listening. Ray, and I'm starting to notice something here that I want to tell you. I'm starting to notice like a different feeling I'm getting from you about this. What's going on? Tell me what's happening for you. Is this something you would like to, you'd like to change some way or improve it? And then, of course, you can ask her always the ultimately magical question, which is, what would change if you overcame this? What would happen? What would change? What would be different for you? Would that be nice? Would that be beneficial? Would that be desirable for you? Or do you prefer to keep this? And some people might want to keep that, and they don't want to change it. You give her a chance, and you're clear that it's okay with you either way. You don't have a vested interest, in one or the other. You love her unconditionally, and nothing that's not going to change, no matter what she decides. That gives people what we call space. They have
Yeah.
space to change when they don't feel like they have to change. That's the term, the jargon word that we've come to use in California for this kind of thing.
All
Okay.
right.
Yeah. And then after going back and forth 5 or 10 times, depending on her level of, she might even say, well, how did you do this? Why did you do this? How did you know to do this? And she might get a little bit curious about where this came from and etc. Right. And then you can really entice her if you want to. This is not really part of active listening, but you can say, well, Howard taught this to me. And if you come
Yeah.
back into the engagement team, you can learn how to do it. And then you can do it with me if you want to.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you can do it with dad, and then maybe he'll give you some extra pesos for ice cream or whatever, whatever,
Motivation, yeah.
whatever the things that she
Uh,
wants from her dad. She wants something from her dad. And so you can reference whatever that something is that she wants from her dad.
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
her mom, either way. Because
Yeah,
kids her age or kids at any age want something. They always want something. So it's a negotiation technique, right?
exactly.
There you go.
Very
Okay.
well
Is
said.
that
Yes.
helpful?